Hello everyone, and welcome back to Elevating Beyond with a two-word mission statement: change lives. And I'm doing something that I've literally never done before on this show. I'm gonna be sharing something with you that is so powerful. This is so much from my heart. Look, I'm honored to get paid to speak all over the world. And this is a very powerful keynote. I'm giving you guys a flavor of it. It's walk a mile in my mindset, elevating beyond discrimination. Because I want to share all this with the Elevating Beyond listeners. It's powerful, it's deep, and it's real, and it applies to all of us. Beads of sweat were drizzling down his forehead as he walked up the concrete steps to the front door. The humidity was oppressively thick, the kind that weighs you down, making it difficult to breathe. This white Caucasian guy, this Christian dude from Orange County, California, nervously knocks on the door, his heart pounding out of his chest. On the other end of the door, there are 7 Muslim men from Sierra Leone, West Africa. He enters into the dimly lit apartment where he's led to sit down on the couch as the 7 West African men in a half circle stand over him, facing him. In walks this beautiful African queen from Sierra Leone, West Africa, who nervously sits next to him on the couch. His heart is pounding. He wipes the sweat from his brow and does what he came here to do. He asks the brother's permission for her hand in marriage. Can you imagine what is going through everyone's mindset right now? What do you think each different person is thinking in this moment? The two of them left the apartment together, and a year later in Columbus, Ohio, I had the honor of being at their wedding. As a matter of fact, I got to wear this cool West African gown, and I remember honestly wondering if everyone would think this white dude looks cheesy. I was wondering if they were laughing at me deep down, thinking like, this dude's a poser. He really looks cheesy to me. But then, as I looked over at the beautiful African queen, the bride-to-be, she was smiling at me with such radiance. I knew this meant the world to her, that I was wearing their traditional West African gown made special for the groom. Yep, that's right. The groom was me. And the beautiful African queen is my wife, Aiba, which we've now been married for an amazing 12 years and have 5 children. Never before in history, in the past 18 years, communication through advances in technologies has increased. The power of social networking is such that a number of worldwide users from various reports have shown in studies is expected to reach some 3.02 billion monthly active social media users by 2021. This means around 1/3 of the Earth's entire population is connected. Literally at the palm of our hands, at these things we're looking at, our iPhones, our smartphones. But at the same time, on a recent poll from Huffington Post shows we are more divided than ever. So we're more connected and also more divided than ever. How is this even possible? It doesn't make sense. Over the past year, reports from the FBI prove that hate crimes have increased rapidly. In the US alone, 6 out of 10 were targeted because of biases against victims, race, or ethnicity. And if we don't change now, what will happen? And as I was telling you before, we're more connected than ever. So don't tell me that change isn't possible. How is it that in one of the most radically divided countries, Nelson Mandela, after spending 27 plus years in a brutal prison on Robben Island, was able to rise up and become president of South Africa, uniting the entire country into what became known as the Rainbow Nation, being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize? How is it that Malala Yousafzai, who at age 15 was shot in the head by the Taliban for publicly advocating for the education of Muslim girls, how was she able to get Muslims to come together all over the world and unite not for violence, but for peace, leading to her being the youngest person ever to win the Nobel Peace Prize at age 17? And how was it that Winston Churchill would lead and inspire Britain against all odds during the time when the world was divided during World War II? Winston Churchill had few real weapons, but through using words as weapons, formed an alliance with the US to defeat Nazi Germany in World War II. Combining research on Nelson Mandela, Winston Churchill, Malala, and my own personal experiences of my own rainbow family, as Nelson Mandela would call it, and from being the owner of Dreamshine, which serves individuals with special needs, being a best-selling author, host of this podcast worldwide, Elevating Beyond, with 2 million plus downloads, where I've been honored to have guests from all over the world. We're talking of all races, all different religions, all genders, all ethnicities, including whether it be NFL players, Fortune 500 owners, actors, activists, volunteers, and the first and only blind man to summit Mount Everest. I have discovered these 3 truth bombs, which are how we can elevate beyond discrimination. There is a correlation. These 3 truth bombs creating a whole new level of unity. How to live our dreams and change lives. Which are saying yes to scary, overcoming self-discrimination. That's right, the self-limiting mindset and false beliefs. And to chill out, to stop allowing yourself to be so easily offended. So look, the first one I'm talking about is saying yes to scary. And I had an amazing NFL player on my show, Donald Washington. We've become good friends. He was a guest on Elevating Beyond, and over time, as I got to know him better and better, I'll never forget when he called me that night. You see, it was the night before he was coming out to my company, Dreamshine, for the first time to spend the day with our clients with special needs we are so honored to serve. I remember answering, and on the other end, he's saying, Hey Mark, I'm really excited to come tomorrow, man, but I'm nervous. I'm so nervous about tomorrow to be around your clients with special needs. And I remember thinking, what? Like, this is the same guy who literally chases down 400-pound giant beasts in the NFL and tackles them. And this guy's scared? And then he went on, you see, Mark, I never told you this, but in high school, I used to make fun of people who were different than us jocks. I used to make fun of people like them with special needs. And so the next day he showed up at Dreamshine, and it was so amazing and beautiful to see him engaging and interacting with all of our clients with special needs. I'm talking signing autographs, doing exercises with them, throwing footballs with them. Honestly, it was a beautiful day at Dreamshine. And afterwards, as I was walking with him to the car and thanking him, telling him how much this means to me and to all of our clients at Dreamshine, that he took his whole day to spend with them. We're so grateful. I was saying, you've literally impacted lives by doing this. I shook his hand and gave him that one-arm man hug. You know, the type of man hug, you shake one hand and the other hand you give it a little pat on the shoulder. That's what I call the one-arm man hug. And then when I did it, I realized I felt the back of his shirt was soaking wet. It was damp with sweat. And Donald looked up at me with a very proud grin and said, "Did you feel that?" I wore 3 layers of shirts today, and I was so nervous, I sweat through all of them. And he said, "Mark, honestly, it's me who wants to thank you. I'm honored to have been able to spend time with your clients at Dreamshine. This day was more special to me than you'll ever know." And as I watched his car drive off in the distance, I remember realizing, wow, like this whole time I was thinking it was about Donald and the NFL player coming and helping change the lives of our clients with special needs at Dreamshine. But it was them who changed his life. Because Donald did it, he faced his fears, he faced what was different to him, he faced his regrets, he moved forward and said yes to scary. He got to change his entire perspective through his experience. And by the way, the coolest part, Donald now visits Dreamshine on a regular basis, like once a month, and continues to volunteer and do so many amazing things with our individuals with special needs. It's incredible. Now, the second thing here I'm talking about, this is important, everyone. It's overcoming self-discrimination. Now listen to me, this gets deep. I'm talking about a self-limiting mindset. After a few years of being married to my beautiful African queen Aiba, my stepson Muhammad, he goes by Mo, who was about 3 when his mom and I first started dating. We were hanging out later on watching cartoons in the living room. I think now he's probably around like 8 years old. And he told me, he said, "You know what? For the first time, like the first time I ever met you, I was scared of you." And I kind of laughed and said, "Oh, you mean like you were scared because you didn't want some stranger dating your mom? I get it." "No," he cut me off. He said, "I remember thinking that I wasn't good enough to be around you because you were white and I was African." What? Like this was going through my head. What? How can this be possible? I couldn't even comprehend that he was thinking such things. What if he continued to believe this false truth? Look, I've been being authentic and real with all of you, and I'm sure most of you had decided that this Mark Minard dude talking right now is a pretty decent person. But what if this guy talking to you right now, who's talking over the mic or standing on stage when I'm doing my keynote, was a drug dealer who was doing drugs, dealing methamphetamines, driving so intoxicated most of the time on so many different types of alcohol and drugs with no regard for endangering human lives? Imagine as a result of this dirtbag was thrown in jail at age 17. What if this guy came out and started preaching to you on stage or over this podcast right now and delivering this exact same message? Wouldn't you have a different mindset about him altogether? Like, I'm not gonna lie, I know I would. Well, that guy was me. Any of you that have heard my story, you've seen it, and when I speak, my mugshot would pop up right now on screen of me in jail with my face smashed in. That guy I described was me. I was so caught up in the same thing, the self-discriminating. I had a victim mindset, an entitlement mindset against myself. I was my own worst enemy, thinking I could never do anything with my life. I could never be like those successful people, I used to think. They were born with all the talent. They were born with the families that were rich and could just hand them down the businesses. They were born with the smarts and everything magical. That's what I believed. And so I turned to this life of chaos and drugs at an early age, and it took me literally almost dying, waking up in jail to make a decision, to change my mindset. And listen, I remember as I lived in a trailer at that time, both my roommates were laughing at me when I mentioned that I was thinking about going to college. Because after that, I wanted to change, and I brought it up and they laughed at me. They called me a sellout. And as my good man, Bishop T.D. Jakes says, staying in your village, your current environment can give you a false sense of the world. So this was literally one of the first things that I did. I started hanging around with different people. Actually, I started cutting out the wrong people and hanging around with some different people and learning to hang around more with myself. I started getting around other people that were doing things with their lives. It changed my self-discrimination, and I started to remove my limiting beliefs. Now, unfortunately, both the roommates I lived with at that time are dead now. One of them, just a few years back after a long drug binge, shot himself in the head with a pistol. The other, who had two beautiful little girls, overdosed on a bunch of painkillers and whiskey. I would have been number 3. 2 out of the 3 people in that trailer are dead now. That's the importance of who you hang out with in your life. Had I stayed in my village, as T.D. Jakes called it, I would have been dead, or in prison, or even worse, I may have even killed someone else. So let's flash forward to now. Remember my son Mo, my stepson Mo? The kid who thought he wasn't good enough to be around white people? Well, now he's 17, and he goes to one of the best high schools in the state with a variety of kids from all different races. There's a lot of white kids there too, and guess what? He's 240 pounds, plays varsity on the football team. And by the way, I never call him my stepson. I call him my son, and he calls me dad. At age 17, one of the most incredible days of my life was when my son Mo chose to officially have his last name changed to mine, as he is now Muhammad Mark Minard. And this is because he changed through experience. That's how powerful it is. It changed his life. It changed my life. But you have to stop believing those self-limiting beliefs and being biased against yourself. Now, this third one is what happens so much. Like I said, social media is everywhere, and that's great. 1/3 of us and almost the entire world has the ability to connect. That's so beautiful, but also a lot of people are getting too easily offended. So I'm saying it, you need to chill out. Stop allowing yourself to be so easily offended. I'll be the first one to give you an example. I remember when my wife, Aiba, and I first started dating as an interracial couple in Columbus, Ohio. When we would go out, people would always stare at us, giving us dirty looks. making comments behind our back when we weren't looking as we walked by. And I remember my wife, well, not at the time, she was my girlfriend. I would come home and be pissed and saddened thinking, it's the 2000s. I thought the world had changed about this stuff. But then, just 14 years later, as we are now, every time we go out, no one stares at us anymore. No one gives us dirty looks or makes comments. So what changed? We still live in Columbus, Ohio. I'm still white. She's still African. The only thing that changed was our perspective. You see, we simply through experience over time stopped seeing ourselves as an interracial couple. We stopped dwelling on it. We were just a regular husband and wife. Like I write about this even in my book, The Story of You, that this happened and I realized I was not the one chilling out at all. As a matter of fact, I found that anger is what we use to camouflage our fear and our own insecurities. That's right, I'm gonna repeat that. Anger, a lot of the times, is what we use to camouflage our fear and our own insecurities. And those people were staring at us, by the way, and giving us dirty looks because I was walking around with a chip on my shoulder, giving off a look of anger. And they were probably like, why is this dude so angry? So then they gave me dirty looks back, which I don't blame them. That's how powerful perspective is. It's such a powerful thing. It's such a powerful thing. It's proof, like literally, if and when you change your mindset, the circumstances will follow. So I know and I believe that this time, as we continue to be more connected than ever in the world, we can use it to unify more and be less divided. But it takes you standing up and honestly fighting the good fight. You need to apply these things that I'm talking about. Like I'm challenging you each day to go out and say yes to something scary, even if it's a conversation with someone that you're not used to talking to. Do something each day, overcome that self-discrimination and false beliefs. Challenge yourself to chill out, to stop being so offended about everyone. I'm gonna tell you this, humility comes before honor. It's one of the most beautiful things, and it's proof that we can literally change the world. And if you don't believe me, I told you at the beginning, Nelson Mandela, right? Imagine, for 27 plus years, he was falsely accused and thrown in this prison of a cell block that was like 6 feet by 6 feet by 6 feet by 6 feet with no window. Under horrible conditions. The only time he was allowed out was when he would do work with a pickaxe and hit rocks under the scalding heat. But when he got out and got elected president, because he knew about the power of unity and what to do and why humility comes before honor, you see, they were thinking that all the British people that had thrown him in and accused him from being a terrorist, he was immediately basically going to go to war against them. But that's what had been happening for hundreds of years and was destroying the country. So he actually brought them together as part of his team. Now, can you imagine doing that? The same people that falsely imprisoned you, that called you a terrorist, that hated you, that ruined most of your life. As a matter of fact, he even lost his wife and his marriage. She got remarried that time, that took away his marriage, to then call them to be part of his team in his office. Because he knew this principle that humility comes before honor. And because of that, the country continued to unify one day, one step at a time. And this is what it means to be a leader. And now South Africa is known as the Rainbow Country. So I'm going to end it off here with one of my favorite poems. And this is what Nelson Mandela said is what gave him hope to continue to persevere and persist and to not give up. And this is how we're going to end off the show. This is Invictus by William Ernst Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black is the pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms the horror of the shade. And yet, the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Now everyone listening to this with me, I'm gonna say it again, and I want you to repeat it out loud from wherever you are and proclaim it because it's the truth. Say it. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. One more time. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. One more time. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. One more time. I am the master of my fate. I am the master of my soul.